swap that over to live chat. That's been done. Not sure why I announce it every time, and then we'll do the sound check. It's good. As long as I hear a computer whirring, we're alright. Alright, welcome to the show. So, I started things here with the Quester Files on this show, reading the Quester Files article on the Ripon Court shooting as a means to assess whether or not the East Area rapist shot Rod Miller. And I really liked doing this experience because not only do I essentially consider the Quester Files to be the definitive online case file of the original Night Stalker, there's enough information in there that some of it I disagree with and some of it I agree with. Most of it I agree with. But I think for those of you who have been in Iran's land long enough, you know that, like any human being, Quester just isn't right all the time. And that's totally normal. And I never have any problems with people sometimes being wrong. Though sometimes I can strongly disagree with them charismatically. But the only thing that I've ever had an issue with, and I've tried not to get down this rabbit hole too far, is when people are wrong knowingly in true crime. And aside from a little hiccup with the whole Visalia ransacker backpedal issue, Quester has generally been pretty good about just having an accurate assessment of the facts laid out. I like Quester. Wrote him a song, talked to him on email, and just have always had a pleasant experience with Quester from the time that I discovered his website to until talking to him myself. And anyway, so sometimes we draw a lot of the same conclusions, Quester and I, and I really like his website. As a result of that, I kind of decided that I wanted to cover his website on my show. And for Halloween this year, I was dressed as the Irons, and we had a costume party thing, and everybody dressed up. And I had a homemade ski mask and functional shoelace bindings and a fake revolver and all this stuff, and that was my costume. Well, I kept everyone say, "Well, who are you?" I said, "The original Night Stalker," and they're like, "Oh yeah, I remember that, the Ramirez." I'm like, "No, that's the new Night Stalker." And they're like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, there's an original Night Stalker, like Golden State Killer." And they're like, "Oh yeah, I know that." And I'm like, "Oh fuck, we got a lot of work to do here." So, aside from just bagging on that name, you're never going to hear me use that name to describe the original Night Stalker, who can be seen pictured down here. Why am I so bad about that? If it's on my left, it's on my right. Here is the original Night Stalker. And this series can sort of be seen as, one, the desire to showcase the Quester Files information to the world in a video format, along with some commentary, because I think everybody who's interested in this case needs to at least read the Quester Files first, basically. It's a very, very expansive wealth of information and archive of information. I had special thanks to Polly Walnuts, one of my viewers, who sent me Sudden Terror and Hunting a Psychopath, both in PDF, just the other day. I haven't started reading them yet, but I do intend to. And the thing with those is those are big, fat, chunky books. And a lot of people, and of course, a lot of people don't have money to pay for books. And I'm against the idea of profiting from serial killers. So I don't think that, we should be forced to buy a book to read the information within. If you want to, when it comes to true crime. Other things, sure. Like, if you want to publish a book about, Sasquatch and sell it to people, not too much moral gray area there, because nobody that we know of, no confirmed situations happen where a Sasquatch came and beat someone to death with a pipe wrench. And so that's kind of more morally okay. But to demand money for me to read the information in Sudden Terror and Hunting a Psychopath because I want to learn about the information, I just don't agree with it, and so therefore I'm just going to get free copies of your book, and that's it. And large part of that is because I don't have any money. Now, if I did have money, I would read the book free first, and then if I liked it, I would pay the author by either buying a hard copy of that or just sending it directly to them. Anyway, whole moral discussion aside. The nice thing about the Quester Files is the Quester Files is freely available online for anyone to read, just like my channel and just like all my true crime work. And so I very much like that. And I just want to tell Quester, thank you a lot for doing that. That's some serious stuff, man. Like, everybody the work that was put into the Quester Files is mind-blowing, and it's right here for free, and you can read it for free. And that's what we're going to do on this stream today. So I did an episode yesterday. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago? It might have been 2 days ago, talking about Goleta and the double murder of Greg Sanchez and Sherry Domingo. In that video, I gave you guys an 8-point hypothesis as to what happened at the Goleta crime scene that diverges with everybody else's hypothesis that I've so far ever read on the double murder of Greg Sanchez and Sherry Domingo. But my hypothesis actually makes sense, and theirs doesn't make sense. So, that being said, I realized, why don't we go through all the original Night Stalker crimes? Because here's the thing. If we wanted to start and I've considered this before, if we wanted to start reading the Quester Files at the beginning of the East Area Rapist spree, we would be here for 100 years. Because, as many of you know, the East Area Rapist was an extremely prolific serial rapist. At minimum that we know of, there's 51, 53 confirmed rapes. And Murder Inc. has been on my channel very frequently, watching my streams for hours at a time, and he started to plant these seeds in me, where I'm starting to become more and more and more open to the possibility that there's lots of unconfirmed crimes by the East Area Rapist original Night Stalker. But because I don't have DNA proof and I don't have that confirmation from any particular one of these unconfirmed crimes, I can't really adhere to anything specifically and tell you, oh, this is a Neurons crime. I'm at a point in true crime, this goes for Zodiac, this goes for Neurons, this goes for everything, where if I don't have undeniable or otherwise overwhelming proof or very strong circumstantial evidence that an offender committed a crime, I can't accept basically anything without DNA at this point. Because it's too hard to know. Now, here's the thing that we do know with the East Area Rapist. All of the Sacramento rapes, all of them, every single one of them, is not connected to the East Area Rapist narrative by DNA. We only have DNA from the Contra Costa County rapes, and I think that's it. There might be some DNA floating around other places. There's unconfirmed rumors and internet reports that they may have been able to pull touch DNA off of the bindings at the Maggiore double homicide. No proof of that. I don't know that for sure. But what we do know is that Joe D'Angelo pled guilty to that crime. Of course, now with all the information available, completely not even looking at the guilty convictions or the pleas, we know basically for sure that D'Angelo shot the Maggiores. And it's funny when you go back through these old archives and you see guys like Arch and stuff who are like, no, it was a military-based conspiracy, and it's like, if only you had the full picture. If only you had known that it for sure was Junk Food Joey that shot them. We understand that now, and I think we're very far past the Mather Air Force Base conspiracy theory that was floating around for years, and the 2 shooters and all this crap that happened, you know. D'Angelo shot the Maggiores. But everything that happened in Sacramento that we know of, the rape kits were thrown away after the statute of limitations expired on those rapes. Now, a lot of people point to this being a total blunder by law enforcement, and I agree. But we can't do anything about that now. So what we have to do is deal with the information that we have. And the information that we have is that we can use the modus operandi of the Sacramento rapist to basically, beyond reasonable doubt, link him to those crimes. Because here's the thing. The modus operandi of the Contra Costa County offender is the same modus operandi as the non-DNA linked crimes out of Sacramento of the East Area Rapist. So we know from that MO that this is the same rapist. Now, there's some people who think EAR-A, EAR-B theory, where there's different EARs, and that some of them are copycats or some of them are working in concert in conjunction with the East Area Rapist, and it's very hard to tell what parts of that are true and what parts of that are not true. I'll give you an example. That the first 7 crimes before the news blackout was lifted in Sacramento, the rapist was described as having dark hair. And very frequently, and essentially law enforcement's sort of description of the EAR at that time was of a man with dark leg hair. And then that description, as more rapes were happening and more assaults were happening, we saw that description start to change and to start to develop into what became basically the accepted description of the East Area Rapist, which was this guy with blonde hair. And funnily enough, D'Angelo was balding for a lot of this stuff, especially as the original Night Stalker, but he never had long hair, and so he had to have been wearing a wig, and it goes to show us that these forensic countermeasures that were being taken by this dirtbag right here were very effective and very much muddied the waters and convoluted and perverted our understanding of who this guy was and what he looked like. So all this being said, the East Area Rapist situation is so fucking complicated and so messy that even after we've identified this offender, Joseph D'Angelo, it is very, very, very hard to properly cover the East Area Rapist and not just make a bunch of mistakes. I know people, whoa, you just don't know enough. No. If I'm going to really thoroughly cover a crime spree, I like to, as best as I can, have a clear understanding of the facts and to convey and to relay those facts in the most accurate way that I can. And sometimes this means that we have limited information. But fortunately, with the original Night Stalker, of all of his confirmed crimes that we know he did, we have DNA. So we know that he's the Contra Costa County rapist. Okay? Let's move into the first real original Night Stalker attack. Window capture. You know, I am announcing everything, so. Alright, everybody, and you could basically argue... Let's see here. You could basically argue that... Let me do some things here. Just close some stuff up. Unclutter things here. You could basically argue that Goleta 1, which was a botched attack at which D'Angelo was chased off by Stan Lowe, whatever his name is. There's been, contradictory reports on that. You could argue that that was the first assault of the original Night Stalker, but it didn't end in double murder. So, is it an East Area Rapist crime? Is it an original Night Stalker crime? And that's kind of one of those things that I'm not really sure on. I think that D'Angelo did intend to murder Himmel and Hornerick at that crime. This is the famous I'll kill him crime, where he puts shorts over the woman's head. She's bound in the living room, and he's pacing in the kitchen, pacing the room, saying, I'll kill him, and this. And people know that that's generally considered the start of the original Night Stalker. It also immediately follows from D'Angelo's his termination as a police officer. So the way to look at this, I guess, and really, life isn't so black and white. I mean, there's no timeline rigidity that, like, people like to think, well, when does the original Night Stalker start? It's like hard to say. But let's call that starting point the first double murder that he orchestrates in a home. Okay? That's going to be Bob Offerman and Alexander Manning. Did I write her name wrong? I'm so stupid. I did, didn't I? Oh, no, I didn't. No, Debra Manning. What the fuck? Where did I get that name from? Anyway. Don't kill me, everybody. It's Debra Manning. And I wrote it right on here. So that's my proof. I don't know where that other name came from. Okay, moving on. What do you guys see on your screen? I'm having trouble, like, understanding where to put these little things here, but whatever. Just because it's... Okay, let's do this. This is where it was for Goleta, so... Or for Sanchez Domingo. Okay. Offense, 187 murder. Incorrect. It's actually murder with special circumstances, 190.1, I believe. But that's fine. I heard it from a Sublime song. Address is Avenida Pequena. I don't remember the address there. I have it in my file. Let me tell you the address of the house, because Quester didn't want to tell us. Case file, the original Night Stalker. Little sketch of D'Angelo in there with a wig on. Let's see. 767 Avenida Pequena, Goleta, California. Date is December 30th, 1979. I believe we have some prowling reports even. Cool. Okay, I'm going to address these prowling reports because they're not listed in Quester's file. So just make sure, remind me, guys, that we have prowling reports from this crime. And I'm going to give them to you as we go. Or at the end of this breakdown. Alright. Here we go. What do you see right now? Time's unknown. The suspect is the original Night Stalker. It was almost a new year and a new decade. As far as Northern California was concerned, the East Area rapist hadn't struck since July. From what we know now, EAR had not struck in over 2 months. Both of these are long periods of time for him. His last 2 attacks were also botch-ups. He hadn't had a rape and terror night out since July 1979. Well, both of these are long periods of time for him. That's arguable because as those original Night Stalker crimes are going to begin, and we're going to start seeing these home invasion double murders, there's going to be months separating these crimes. But he came back. He came back to Goleta. Not surprisingly, he came back not so far from Queen Anne Lane. His prowling modus operandi all over again. Okay, he's a marauder, so he's attacking in clusters that are in different areas. So when he comes to Irvine, for example, those 2 crimes are a stone's throw away from each other. I've been to both crime scenes. It's amazing how close they are. They're about 1.5 miles from each other. And then the same is going to happen in Rancho Cordova. The same is going to happen here in Goleta. We're going to see these spread out clusters of attacks. In a curious twist, he hit a condo complex. These weren't long blocks of condos as in the La Riviera area. These condos were set about amidst parkland, and each block consisted of only 2 attached condominiums. It is more similar to the Fillmore Lane strike, only far more spacious and wooded. Walking paths wended about from each condo through the quiet parkland and under trees and into the parking lots. Adding to the solitude, one side of the complex abutted San Jose Creek. The thick woodland hid the creek from view, and the community had also planted an orchard in front of it. To the back of the community was a huge open area, and this undeveloped land connected with a familiar sight to us all here, a cat corridor. Here, they are tall special power poles and not the usual lattice grid of aluminum giants, but the corridor of land remains fallow beneath them. Only part of it, like the corridor in San Ramon, is devoted to a Christmas tree farm. On the other side is another community. He loves Christmas tree farms, by the way. Not sure why, but they do come up a lot. They come up in the San Ramon sketch, and another attack there too. Along here, EAR had parked. He walked through the field as he had done before. He had ridden Las Perlas already on his bike. I mean, where's the evidence of that? But okay. He had been through the community. He had parked off Cathedral Oaks before, the main thoroughfare, and had scanned the area from there. That was his modus operandi. Yeah, I mean, he did this for sure in Irvine, because I've been to Blue Gum Park, and Blue Gum Park was definitely a reconnaissance station for him. He discovered the Irvine crime scene from the corner of Jeffrey Road and Bryan Avenue. He prowled into the neighborhood through the walking paths, and then he found a reconnaissance station at Blue Gum Park, and that was where he decided on Manuela Wathoon's house. And at Manuela Wathoon's house, he didn't come in from Jeffrey Road and Bryan Avenue on the night of the attack. Instead, he came from the opposite side of the neighborhood and walked through Sycamore Park, because what he wanted was that if anyone had seen him prowling, they didn't see him enter on the night of the murders, or the murder in that case. He wanted the attack night to have a different entrance than his reconnaissance era. The reconnaissance, he discovers the area from one direction, and on the night of the attack, he approaches the target house from the other direction. He was relatively young and innocent looking. But tonight, he crept across the field and into the back way of the condo complex. He walked quietly along the pathways. He came to the one he had already selected. The people were still awake, a couple. He already knew they were doctors. One, the woman, was a head shrinker, so that's a therapist. I'm not sure why he calls you that. He went next door. This condo was empty. He took the screen off a window, put it on a tall hedge, and slipped inside. Typical. So why does he do that? He doesn't want the screen to be seen from the outside, so as the Visalia ransacker, he would put it on the bed. Sometimes he'd put them on top of nearby vehicles like large RVs or things like that. He would hide the screen so that it couldn't be seen from the street. How many times had he done this with an empty house? His prints could be found in the empty house across from victim 17. He was caught doing this at Haskell Avenue. He was an adept cat burglar. He never left prints. He always wore gloves. Here he lurked, festered perhaps. Whenever he entered a house, he haunted it. He left behind a strange aura which more than one detective believed they could sense. Not just a physical cold, but a draining of the vital centers of life. Okay, so I've been to Iran's crime scenes, and yes, there is an energy there. I can tell you that. There is, in fact, an energy at these scenes. It's very strange, and I get a little bit of chills talking about it right now. In the case of the prowling area near Bryan Avenue and Jeffrey Road, it's a very kind of disturbing, like, weird energy, and you can feel it. It just feels, like, weird. It's hard to describe. So I've been around a lot of bad guys in my life, from my old criminal days, and I've always kind of thought that what I would call demons, or you can call them whatever you want, evil spirits or dark forces or whatever the fuck you want to call them, they have kind of this like bizarro energy where they have like this weird sort of like humorous, like goofy, like weird energy, okay? And I felt that type of energy near the prowling paths of Jeffrey Road and Bryan Avenue. When I got to the actual house at 35 Columbus, there was a sense of total tranquility and peace, and it felt glowing and warm and sunny and quiet, and it's so quiet. And I saw this not only at the Wathoon scene, but I felt it at the Cruz crime scene, and I also felt it at the Harrington crime scene. Those are the only 3 Iran's crime scenes I've been to, and in each case, the immediate vicinity of the murder house is, or the crime scene house, because some people don't like when I call it that. But let's be real, it's a house where murders occurred, okay? So let's not pick apart those words. The immediate vicinity of the murder house is very quiet and peaceful. But in the prowling areas, there's a different type of energy. I didn't feel a physical cold, but I was outside. I was not inside the home. And I didn't feel a draining of the vital centers of life, but maybe inside the crime scene homes that could be felt. I believe that these detectives that say that they sense something at these crime scenes were correct. They're not just weirdos. They felt something that I have felt too going to those crime scenes. What had he been doing in the empty condo? Whatever it was, he clumsily left Twine behind, in one case under the master bath sink. Curious, he left Twine outside when he came in the window or when he left? It doesn't really matter. I suspect... Shit, I don't know, actually. That's hard to say. I think we're just not going to know, like many things in this case. But you're going to notice that Twine is coming up in the early original Night Stalker crimes. And the reason for that is because, as the East Area Rapist, one of his extremely recognizable modus operandi factors was that he was using pre-tied shoelaces to tie up his victims. And pre-tied shoelaces are very recognizable when they appear again. As the original Night Stalker, he was trying as hard as he could to not allow the original Night Stalker to be linked to the East Area Rapist, and so therefore, shoelace is not in play here. He switches to Twine, but he's going to have a very, very, very unpleasant experience using Twine, and we're going to get into it as this goes forward. What I can tell you about Twine is that basically it falls apart. Go to a Home Depot. Outside Home Depot, they have these big reels of twine, and you can get it for free. You can get as much as you want for free, and it flakes apart into little pieces. Shoelaces do not. As it grew late, he slipped out. The lights were now out next door. It was time. It was more than time to satiate his thrill by the looks of the back patio sliding glass door. It had been pried so feverishly that some of the aluminum jamb was pulled from the beam of the door frame. Several pry marks on windows showed his unrelenting desire to get in, and at last EAR did get in. I think what you're seeing here is sexual energy. EAR, in the moments leading up to the attack, was about as, sexually, there's another word for this, but I'm trying not to use it. He was as horny as he could possibly be in these moments, and you're going to see that as he's meticulously chiseling away door frames, and so, yes, you're seeing him being horny here. How long did he wait before waking his victims? This we do not know. I don't think very long. There was no need to remove shoelaces for ligatures. He brought all the white twine with him. It was identical to that which he had taken to Himmel and Helicon's house. Why did I call her the other name? Anyway. Guys, whatever. It was 1/16 inch 3-strand. He either turned the thermostat off, or the owner didn't leave the heat on that night. I think that he turns the thermostat off. People wonder why. They say, oh, did he have some kind of a strange medical disorder where he, needed to be cold? And put a ski mask and a windbreaker on and gloves, and you'll know why he turned the thermostat off every time he attacked. It's obvious. It's the hottest thing you can wear. You're burning up in this thing. The condo belonged to an orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Robert John Offerman. He was 44 years old. He was quite successful and single. He lay asleep in bed. Next to him was a psychologist, Dr. Debra Manning, 35. She was formerly married to an orthopedic surgeon and just recently divorced. In fact, just last Friday. They both slept peacefully. But at one point, there must have been a tapping, kicking of the bed, or something that awakened them and put them face to face with the obscene, angry whispering that hissed through EAR's clenched teeth. Can you guys see anything on there? Hopefully, I don't know. I'm trying, guys. Whatever. I'm reading to you anyways. So. I imagine it came really quickly, man. He's inside the house and he's ready to go. I think that he... In fact, in one of the EAR crimes, it's in Jane Carson Sandler's rape, he actually came running down the hall, excitedly, and came to her door. So I don't think he was waiting very long. I think as soon as he gained entry, it was showtime. Debra Manning had time to stuff her jewels down behind the bed. For her to have been able to do this, EAR must not have been standing over them. Thus, he probably was at the doorway at this moment. She obeyed his angry hissing, this we can assume, and tied up Bob Offerman's wrists. EAR approached and then tied her. Then he went to tie Offerman's ankles. That was his M.O. Something else can be solidly assumed here. He was as vicious, if not more so, than with Himmel and Helicon. There were no ifs anymore. His scripted lines seldom varied until his first Goleta attack. The ifs were then gone. He said he would kill them. He chanted it in the hallway and kitchen of their Queen Anne home. It had so set them off that they tried repeatedly and finally got away. I guess that's a typo. EAR must have done that here. He fed on the whimpering and the fear. Whatever he said here, the effect seemed to be the same. Offerman must have gotten free, even before EAR got ankle ligatures on him. He lunged at EAR. EAR shot him in the chest. Offerman spun around. EAR pumped 3 more rounds into his back. Nude, Offerman fell into the floor, on his knees, leaned forward until his face hit the carpet, his butt sticking up into the air. Neighbors heard the shots. There was one, then a gap, then 3 fired rapidly. Were they early New Year firecrackers? They didn't bother to inquire. This is what I'm talking about in the Sanchez Domingo situation, and I think that Quester should know better than to make the mistake that a gunshot means that Iran's had to run as fast as he could. That might have happened here at Offerman Manning, but that's because he discharged 5 weapons, or 4, I guess. I thought there was 5. Yeah, there is 5. It's a 5-shot revolver as far as I know. So 1, 3 more, and 1 more. Yeah, 5. Not long. Then there was another single shot. After that, it was quiet. It was 3 in the morning. There was no point in stirring from bed on a cold December night. Eventually, there was concern, as there always is when a couple does not answer. Police arrived to find Offerman as EAR had let him fall. White cord was still sticking around his left wrist. Manning was lying on the bed on her face. Her hands were tied behind her back. She had been shot in the back of the head, execution style. All the light switches had been found in the off position as well as the thermostat. Size 9 Adidas runner shoe prints had been found in the backyard. They matched those that had been found at the Himmel Helicon residence on Queen Anne Lane. Curiously, the prints of a 3-toed dog had been found next to them. Okay, guys, let's talk about something here. The 3-toed dog. I don't want to get too bogged down in this stuff because, after all, it's the whole woofy conversation, and that can go on endlessly forever and ever. Was there a 3-toed dog at Goleta, or was there a partial result of a casting effort? How many prints were cast? How many prints were visible? How many prints were present at the scene? We do not know the answer to that question. Are there 3 toes on the dog because someone messed up casting the tracks? Remember, I mean, your pinky, and I don't know how a dog's, anatomy is really. I don't know anything about that. But maybe the pinky of this dog, as you might call it, the 4th toe of this dog, simply did not imprint the soil deeply enough to be recovered during a plaster casting. Whatever the answer is here, woofy comes up a lot in this case, and I think that it's just a rabbit hole of nonsense, and I think that's what law enforcement decided to. Law enforcement said they looked into the woofy leads before this guy was identified, and they were unable to get anything out of Woofy, and I think that is the moral of the story with Woofy. You can go down that rabbit hole forever, and you will get fucking nowhere. A plastic bag containing turkey pieces and bones was found on the back patio. These same Adidas prints were found under the window via which the next-door condo had been entered. They were also found in another neighbor's yard where the son's bike had been stolen that night. The caliber of gun had been a .38 revolver. In fact, it was Super Vel law enforcement ammunition. And there's also, as many of you remember, there was a badge found that said Special Officer. I believe that this Special Officer badge and the Super Vel ammunition used at the Offerman Manning crime scene was a calling card to tell us that this man was a law enforcement officer. The Special Officer badge was not law enforcement issue. It was just a fake badge. But that was enough to serve its purpose as, hey, I'm Sacramento police, basically. Well, he was Auburn police, but you get the picture. Altogether, as far as sheriffs were concerned, this sounded like the same nut who had tried to rob the Queen Anne Lane couple. Sounded like a botched burglary. No, the fuck it doesn't. Why do they keep assuming this? No, it doesn't sound like that to me. It sounds like a serial killer, guys. It simply does. It doesn't sound like a burglary at all. This is not how burglaries take place. Residential burglaries statistically occur during the daytime hours when people are out at work, and the motivation of a burglar is to steal your things. It is not to steal single earrings. It is not to steal your piggy bank. It is not to steal your family photos. It is not to tie you up while you're asleep. That's a serial killer behavior. So the fact that law enforcement keeps thinking everything is a botched burglary is ridiculous, and it shows me that they're... What the fuck are they talking about? Let's move on. Why should the sheriffs not conclude this? I mean, why should they? Look at this, okay? What did I just say? There had been a burglary spree just the day before, starting around 4 p.m. A rash of 5 burglaries began. This is how houses are burgled. A burglar breaks into homes, statistically speaking, not always, but statistically, in the daytime hours. He breaks into unoccupied residences. He does not hot prowl occupied residences and then tie people up when they're asleep. That is not how burglaries occur. That is how serial killers operate. Okay? Starting around 4 p.m., a rash of 5 burglaries began. Victims found their side gates open. Some of the neighbors did too. 4 of the victims had their sliding glass doors pried open. That's the best way to enter. The last one was at 11:15 p.m. on Windsor Court. As the family was pulling up, they saw someone run past their living room window inside their home. When they entered, he was gone, but their little poodle had been beaten to death. It must have been done to silence its yapping. Maybe. Or maybe he couldn't hook it up to a leash. Or maybe he just wanted to kill. This was a vicious burglar. I mean, yes, he's a burglar, but that not really. Now it seemed he was capable of murder if things went wrong. And then you have a number of crime scene photos here of the of the area. And what do we see again? The same avenue of luscious, large green trees that the EAR is always using as his cover. Concealment. EAR was once again the unsuspected. Yet we now know he was sticking to routine. Windsor Court is not far from Queen Anne Lane. He was remaining in the same general area, narrowing in on another victim. He was doing it for quite a while. The burglary started at 4 p.m. the day before. That's how burglaries happen. Prowling reports had been made on Berkeley Street back in September, so before the Queen Anne Lane attack. EAR must not have lived close to Goleta. He could not afford to come and go frequently, and he remained in a confined area. After the Queen Anne Lane attack, no victim fit until after the Windsor Court incident when he selected Avenida Pequena. He went back down to Merida and moved through the field. He then camped out in the empty condo and waited. So this shows... Okay, over here is Merida. It's actually... interesting. Okay. Kind of getting a feel for... because I know where Toltec Way is, I thought. Unless it's just a different area entirely. It's very possible. Maybe we can't see that. Goleta is interesting. Goleta is the kind of place I would need to go to understand this. It's the same, I mean, I believe that with every true crime case, that you have to see the crime scene to have any fucking clue. What's up, Murder Inc.? Welcome back to the show. You know, people love this stuff in true crime. They love to claim that they have it all worked out, and they're looking at Google Earth. And I really think that in order to very effectively understand the scene, you have to, at minimum, go to it. Irvine, for example, like Manuela Bethune is very, very comprehensible for me because I've been there. I can tell you, like, when I say that he discovered that neighborhood by prowling Jeffrey Road and Bryan Avenue and where he entered and where he parked on the corner of Slocum and Lewis and how he approached Manuela Bethune's house through Sycamore Park using the defilade, these are all things that I understood by going there. I would like to go to Goleta and get an understanding of this, too. Here we go. EAR was very clearly bold, yes. He had been chased away from the other attack nearby in October and was already working the same neighborhood. But where had he been for those 2 months? He stalked nowhere else? Or had he? After the Avenida Pequena attack, he would not strike again for another 2.5 months. He was beginning to space his strikes. Now, I know that Murder Inc. disagrees with that. And, not unreasonable to think this at all. That there was no spacing. There was just our failure to properly connect other events to being EAR. An interesting case. Did he intend to kill? Clearly, Offerman challenged him. If all the sources are accurate, EAR had not even gotten to the point of tying their ankles. Offerman made his move, enough to have gotten off the bed and stand up. There should be no doubt that from EAR's behavior during prior attacks that he had not parked close by. What do we see with Offerman? The same thing we see with Sanchez. That as soon as these people stand up or try to get out of the bed, he shoots them instantly. He had no hesitation, no pause, no concern, no nothing. He's absolutely committed and ready to go the moment anything goes off. If things don't go according to plan, there is no thinking for it in Iran's. Iran shoots them immediately. That's his first reaction. He is ready. He is trigger happy all the time. Okay? There should be no doubt that from EAR's behavior during prior attacks that he had not parked close by. I agree. When the shots rang out, he knew to get going quickly. He immediately executed Manning, thus he had no time to ransack or rape, stole the neighbor's bike, and rode away quickly. He might have stolen the neighbor's bike before the crime. Not sure. The turkey in the bags is strange. Was it to feed the dog? Could be. Was the dog even with him? Or the prince a coincidence? Don't know, and that's why Woofy becomes a whole thing. Did he pilfer the Thanksgiving turkey leftovers in Offerman's own fridge? When did he have time for that? Before? There was no time after. Quester keeps assuming this, man. Quester always assumes that as soon as gunshots ring out, he's gone. That's not necessarily true. Okay? Maybe it's true, and you could make a very reasonable case for that. But, yeah, when did he eat the turkey? I mean, I don't know. I don't think it was before, because I think that when he entered that house, he wasn't stopping to eat first. I think he entered that house and he went straight to the bedroom. EAR bolted. He wasn't expecting that this would happen. What did he do now for the next 2 months while he prowled? Did he form an entirely new modus operandi to make sure no mistakes would happen again? No, I don't think so, because his MO is recognizable throughout all the confirmed original Night Stalker attacks, leading from the earliest of these crimes, where these canals walking past there, leading from East Area Rapist, or even before, as the Visalia Ransacker, all the way through to Irvine 86. Irvine 86, it's all there. It's not there to the same extent as Irvine 81. Irvine 81 is really all there. It's the textbook. If you want to learn his geographic component of his modus operandi, it's all right there in Irvine 81. But it's also present in Irvine 86. It's just that Irvine 86 is a little bit more in and out. My wife mentioned it too, and she doesn't research Irans like this. She doesn't know, like... she knows, of course, from being married to me and listening to my ramblings all the time. But, like, when she saw the cruise crime scene, I remember her saying... that one creeps me out more because it's so in and out. It's like he came from that bike trail, he was there, and boom, gone. Whereas Withun is this complicated military operation. But both of them have those hallmarks of the East Area Rapist modus operandi. So I don't think that... maybe there was a new MO formed, I don't know. But what I do know is that same... geographic modus operandi is present going from the Visalia Ransacker all the way through to Irvine 86 through all of the confirmed crimes. Did he enjoy the power of killing so much that he now intended to do it? How would he cover his trail? Well, I mean, he did for a long time, except for all the semen. A cat corridor led him here. Where was there another somewhere? Where was there another somewhere? There was indeed. What? Okay. He found it in Ventura. Attack in Rancho Cordova 3 days before. Attack from other Jones articles the night before this. Clear timeline. Yeah, I mean, Yeah, I think that 79 sack rape is totally him. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't there, so I don't know what those Do I have water in here? Just all a bunch of nonsense. Here, let me go get water and we'll keep talking. Sup, guys? Hold on. Alright, let's start talking prowling stuff. Because one thing that when I first started getting interested... Why was I doing that without a microphone? I'm so weird. It was like, oh, hey, everybody! Like, screaming for no reason. Okay. When I started getting interested in this case, I remember being very intrigued by the concept that we have hundreds of prowling reports from the East Area Rapist, but we have what seemed to me like a serious deficit of prowling reports from Southern California of the original Night Stalker. So I started digging into it, and I created a template. Let me see if I have the blank copies of it. I think I do somewhere. I don't know where they are, though. Oh, unformatted information report. Oh, this one's handwritten, though. This one I started them. Started making these little fuckers. Okay. Well. Anyway. So I created, basically, this template. And this is a handwritten case file. Every single page of this is either handwritten or copied pages of handwritten, because I thought it was cool. So there's basically a case file template, and it says prowling, stalking, reconnaissance activity. Date and time, associated original Night Stalker crime, incident summary, suspect description, source, and then notes and observations. Now, let's go back through these Offerman Manning reports. So there's some information in this report here, in this case file, that isn't in the Quester Files thing, and so I'll read you guys some of this stuff. Okay, we know this. Blah, blah, blah. Found a ton more prowling reports around Goleta than previously known. Awesome! Is there a way that you can combine... Because oh, jeez. I was originally starting... This was a year-old case file, and I was starting to compile these prowling reports because I was beginning to try to build an understanding of the prowling styles that were happening here. And what I found out was that it isn't that there is no prowling happening in Southern California, because this is what I originally thought. I thought this guy has gotten so advanced that his prowling is either undetectable or he's doing something crazy like he's prowling only on rooftops and stuff. Like, I had this failure to understand that prowling was occurring in Southern California just as much as it was in Northern California, really. But it wasn't being documented. It wasn't being documented because nobody knew that they had a serial killer on the loose. It wasn't like the East Area Rapist where everybody was on the lookout for the East Area Rapist, and so every guy who walked down the street, someone was like, "Is that a prowler?" You know, it was really, people were on high alert in Sacramento. They were not in Santa Barbara, in Irvine, in Laguna Niguel, in, you know, whatever. Simply wasn't happening. But the prowling was happening. So let's look at some stuff here. Incident report for prowling, stalking, reconnaissance activity occurs December 29th, 1979 from 5:30 to 9 p.m. In that window. And this is the day before, because again, Offerman and Manning are killed at 3 in the morning, so that's why they're documented as December 30th. But technically, it's the night of the 20th. Well, not technically. Practically, it's the night of the 29th that this offense occurs. Associated ONS crime is the double murder in Goleta at 770. Oh, no, this is at... Okay, this is at 773 Avenida Pequena. It's not at 767 where the murder happens. It is... Yeah, it's at 773 Avenida Pequena. Or on Queen Anne Lane. A burglary occurred at a house on Queen Anne Lane. A piece of twine that would later be used in the murders was found in the backyard. Inner side door leading from garage had been forcefully pried open with a 3/8 inch rectangular screwdriver. All dresser drawers in master bedroom had been ransacked. Jewelry boxes ransacked. No prints found in bedroom. No prints found on the burglary tools. No suspect description. December 29th, 1979. A couple living on Windsor Court was returning home, and as they approached their house, they saw someone running out of their living room towards the back of the house. They entered just in time to hear him jumping over their fence into the adjacent Mountain View Elementary School. Nothing was taken, but their white poodle had been struck in the left eye. Intruder entered by prying open their sliding glass door. White male, late teens to early 30s, 5'7", medium build, wearing a hat with no protruding hair, possibly a fisherman's hat, dark pants, darker jacket. So his jacket's darker than his pants. He runs crouched. That's going to be why there's a height discrepancy here. They've reported this guy as being 5'7" because he's crouched down. It's D'Angelo, of course, obviously. And I wrote, running crouched accounts for the height issue, dog wounded, such as VR-style burglaries. JJD appears to remove wigs but don hat for activities post-entry. Okay, we're going to get into... Note something. A couple is living here. So this is a possible alternative target house. December 29th, 1979. A bicycle is stolen from a house on Avenida Pequena, very near Offerman residence. Multiple side gates and doors were pried open. Okay, so remember when I asked, was the bicycle stolen before the murders or after? Bicycle is stolen before the murders. The reason I can tell you that is that multiple side gates and doors were pried open. He's not going to do a double gunshot murder and then go prying open multiple gates. That's going to take forever, and he's going to get caught. So this occurs before the murders, the bicycle theft. 769 Avenida Pequena, the vacant condo next to Offerman's was broken into by D'Angelo. He pried every entrance and left the same twine throughout the house. No suspect description. Why did he pry every single house, or every single entry point? What's up, Polly Walnuts? Shit, Murder Inc. You know what it is, man, Murder Inc.? I'm getting behind you here on this stuff, man. Like, the fact that every single one of these houses that has these 1979 Visalia ransacker style burglaries that occurs also has a neighbor that was murdered, like, all the fucking time. Yeah, dude, you're fucking right. Goleta is a suburban low-crime area. Yeah. Yeah, Murder Inc. is here, Polly Walnuts. I don't know why you can never see his stuff. I mean, shit, dude. Yeah, Murder Inc., you're really starting to turn the wheels in my head, and I hope that you can recognize that and and understand that your work here is very, very powerful work. It just takes people time to start diverging from the official narrative, I think, and that's where I am right now. I'm in this early stage of beginning to diverge away from the official narrative of Euron's, where I don't think that he only committed 13 murders anymore, you know. And I think it just takes time to get someone to that position, and there's more to go through. Okay. You know, it's a trip that every time we have these Visalia Ransacker-style burglaries, we also see that they had a neighbor who got murdered years before. It's like, and it's always like some brutal murder where it's like they were bludgeoned to death with a fucking tripod. And we're like, fuck. You know? I mean, it's crazy. And I think that Murder Inc. is probably right in a lot of cases. Probably a lot more than I gave him credit for before. So, good work, Murder Inc. The way that you map this stuff out. You're good, man. I did a ballistics report on the revolver. Weapon had 5 lands and grooves with a right-hand twist and land width of .097/.099. No match to other murders, therefore not the Snelling revolver. So, look. And Murder Inc. is going to be the top guy for the... Here's the thing, man. Euron's was prowling in Southern California the same way that he was prowling in Northern California. But it was going unreported. Because people just didn't know that this was happening. They weren't on the lookout, and they weren't in a position where every bump in the night was the East Area Rapist. It was a bump in the night. And in Sacramento, it wasn't that way. In Sacramento, every time there was anything that happened, like the wind blew wrong, and they're like, was that the East Area Rapist? So it's way different. And it started to reform my understanding of the reconnaissance activity that's occurring here. But shit, man. 12/29/79, attempted break-in in Pareo Drive. Neighbor murdered in 1975. Oh, man. Fuck, man. Did he do Eva Taylor, too? I don't know anymore. Murdering. The only thing I just can't get past, and I've said this before, that we have the Smiths who are bludgeoned with a fireplace log and they're not covered, and he gets blood everywhere, and then the next time he bludgeons his victims, he covers them. It's as if he's learning. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's very like, I'm not writing anything off anymore, and I don't trust Paul Holes anymore. Yeah, Kid Freshie. With the DNA coming up over his head. He's like, oh no! What's up, Polly Walnuts? I like how we do things like that. We're at, like, bro, and then we're like, because we need to say something, but we can't type it as fast as we want to say it. So everyone else has to wait, like, 25 minutes. He didn't need to learn about spatter. Then why did he start covering his victims, though? Why does he start covering them after the Smiths? But that's why I don't want to adhere to the official narrative either, because 80% of the time, yeah, I think that's in my prowling reports. Let me see. Let's see here. The Goleta Prowler. Let's see. Do we have the prowling reports? Maybe I don't. We supposedly have I don't know if it's a husband and wife arguing. That's possible. But it, I guess, was someone was knocking on the door, and it was like a lady knocked on the door, and then a guy came to the door too, or something like that. Or like a lady knocked on the door, and then later on they got burgled, or something like that. I don't want to adhere to the official narrative because it's the official narrative, and I'm starting to just move away from that concept. Like, who knows what the fuck happened anymore? Who knows how many people were involved in this? But I do find it strange that you would be able to find other people with those specific paraphilias. Like, dude, you want to hear the hottest thing ever? When there's a walking path and it like connects to a backyard. You're like, oh, dude, I got a boner from that. There was a murder, and hours before the murder, there was a male and female arguing at the house next door. Yeah, I mean, could be. Heard JJD sneaking into the house. Jesus. Creepy, man. Murder Inc. might. Polly Walnuts, can you see Murder Inc.'s things? If you can't, I'll read him. I'll read his responses. Murder Inc. says he didn't need to learn about spatter. Why though, Murder Inc.? But so why does he cover his victims after the Smiths? I can't get my head around that. But there might be an explanation. Sometimes there's a fucking explanation. Oh, cool. You can? Okay. That's good to know. It's like, hey, maybe the explanation is he didn't want to get blood on the murder weapon so that, so that it didn't become slippery. I don't know. Maybe the fireplace log wouldn't become slippery with blood. Yeah, it could be any reason, really. Yeah. I mean, it very could well be, because we often, and not everybody does this, but it's very common, where like a prevailing narrative will have a framework to it. Like, he covered their heads because of the blood spatter getting on the walls. And so we operate in this framework where it's like, oh, he did it because of that. It could be another reason. What if the reason is he doesn't want to get blood on the murder weapon? Maybe so he doesn't have to clean it. I don't know. Maybe so he doesn't, so it doesn't become slippery. And a fireplace log won't get slippery, even if you get blood on it. But a pipe wrench will. Look at every bludgeon after the Smiths. It's no longer made of wood. It's made out of, like, metals and stuff. And then those are covered victims. In the case of Withum, we think it was a lamp. In the case of, Cruz, it was a pipe wrench. In the case of the Smiths, it was a lawn plugger. These items can become slippery with blood. And maybe that's why. Don't know. But yeah, I think I've been operating in an erroneous framework. Where it's, this must be his first murder because he stops committing uncovered bludgeonings. But that doesn't, I should caution myself about thinking like that. And in which case, yeah, maybe you guys are fucking right, man. Yeah, Murder Inc. is great, isn't he? I love having Murder Inc. here. He's so cool. Just so case knowledgeable, and it has so much information for us. He's the top guy for it. If you need to know about prowling reports or unconnected crimes associated with the Iran's case, go to Murder Inc.'s website. Oh, Polly Wellness is about to disagree with Murder Inc. Let's see what he says. He's like, but wait, bro. And then it's like a 20-minute pause. We have to wait for his typing. I was doing so much research, Polly Walnut says. Yeah, Murder Inc. What do you and then you just deleted the shit. He didn't delete it. It was a Halloween gift. It was put up there for Halloween as Happy Halloween for everybody. The map is live for one day. The map was golden. Well, you got to give him something to have his own website about. We can't have other people just stealing his website. Just copy the source code over. I think I understand why. Though, Murder Inc., I do agree with Polly Walnuts. Like, I hope eventually you publicize that, or you make public that map, because it's very... Don't want the cops to get a hold of that map. Oh, shit. Seriously? The cops were standing by on Halloween. They're like, get him! It's live, get it! Download. Dude, I think they can anyway. Can't they just go to, like... I mean, you're up against the NSA, guys. And if the shill Edward Snowden told us anything, it's that they can read my thoughts. So... We'll get mad at you for liking Goodfellas. What does that mean? You got to look at it this. Murder Inc. What do you think about my hypothesis? You're in the chat. D'Angelo starts covering his victims because the murder weapons that he chooses from the Smiths going forward are items that could become slippery with brain matter and blood. And these are also items that he begins removing from the crime. Also, why does he not remove the log from the Smith crime scene, but he removes the other items? It's all a mystery. We just don't know. Why did he leave the log behind? Look at the screen. NSMR? Nismar? What does that mean? Oh, are you guys like seeing some fucked up thing that like... No, okay. We're good. Oh, jeez. Hold on. Ask Murder Inc. about mafia movies. Nah. 11/18/81. Edward Burke blows him with firewood in Sacramento. So why... Huh. Is he bound? Why does D'Angelo remove the murder weapons after the Smiths? I don't know the answer to that. Because I've always thought that it's kind of more of a liability for him to leave the residence with the murder weapon. It's like you're going to walk out of this down the street at 3 a.m. with a pipe wrench. Like... In regards to the crime scene. Which one? Murder? What one? Are you talking about Withun? Yeah, why? Why is he removing the murder weapons? Why don't you drop info you got from Brad? Oh. He's dead. I don't know. Guys, I think Murder Inc. is literally hiding his identity for security purposes. I'm not kidding you. I think he is concerned that the work that he's doing could make him an enemy of dangerous people within law enforcement conspiracy circles. And it's very possible that that would happen. Yeah, I don't know how that works. So I don't think that they were planning a podcast. Oh, that would have been crazy. I mean, they were planning it. They're not anymore. So... Well, maybe Murder Inc. came to his senses. Maybe he was like, oh shit, you know what? Maybe it's not the best idea for me to do that. Murder Inc. has a lot of info no one else knows. That's a trip. Well, how do you... Then, okay, so like... Then it's on us to begin deciding how we're going to disseminate... Because the truth should prevail. He is dropping it, though, over time. At least so far. I mean, I'm not the biggest fan of, like, you waiting to monetize. I don't think so. I hope not. You know, Murder Inc., that's not the way to make money. I hope that you know that. The way to make money is to be honest and just let it come to you. Because I think it will. But, you know, trying to capitalize though it may work for... We put ton of evidence. Yeah. True. Evidence, info, whatever word you want to use for it, Murder Inc. is publicizing a lot of information. So, and I get it, Paulie. You know, I'm like you. I'm like, oh, you know something, tell us now. And there's a personal... yeah. You know something, you need to tell me, I have a right to know. You know? But, I guess we don't. I don't know... Oh, really? Whoops. I've been calling Murder Inc. a he this entire time. That's fine. So. Dude, I don't fucking know who's what. You know? What I know is that... I like how Murder Inc. never corrected me. I was just calling her a he this entire time, and she's like, that's fine. Can I continue doing that? Doesn't realize Goodfellas is the gold standard. There's a good bludgeoning scene in there, too, isn't there? Can't remember. What's up, Zap? Makes fun of people who don't watch 40s or 50s mob movies. It's, Oh, you know what I like, though, Murder Inc.? Now that you're a standard moderator, which I had to do to thwart the G-Men, and just because of your... I mean, you are for me. I don't know. I don't watch fucking, like, any movies. Except, like, horror movies with my wife or something. I watch the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, then lean forward and go, look at that. That's an Eron's joke for those of you who know. It's, Did he really do that? Is that a true story from Huddle? Dude, Jim Huddle's stories are insane. Not in a way that, like, they're not rational, but, like, did that really happen? Like, that's a crazy story. Like, yeah, we were watching the Texas Chainsaw Massacre with Joe, and then he, like, was all into it and, like, jacking off to it. Like, oh my god. His boat was named Scary. Know who I miss? Michael. Oh, yeah. I know, me too. We don't know where he went. Yeah, the Jim Huddle stories are a trip. Like, but what I think happened is that Jim Huddle really doesn't have as much information as he wants to have had. Is he still alive? And so he kind of, like, plugs himself into the story a lot. Where he's like, I know something. And it's like, okay, Jim. Take your medication now and go to bed, Jim. Like that meme of, like, sure, grandma, whatever. Yeah, they did. You're right. It's an old case. We're dealing with a lot of old geezers, man. I'm just happy that the information has come out. It's not like Zodiac where just everyone died, and then we just never learned. Wow, really? A majority of them? I didn't know that either. That's a sad story. Sad aspect of this. You know, but, I mean, at the end of the day, man. Yeah, but he's not. I mean, look at this picture of him. Has anyone? You guys have seen this picture, right? It's pretty recent. This guy's on death's door, man. He's about to go. He really is. Joe D'Angelo, 2021, I think. Look at this picture of him. This is January 2021. I can't even believe he's still alive, actually. Look at this fucking picture of this guy. And, of course, they won't show us because they lied about the source of the image. Open image in new tab. Let's see if that works. Here we go. And let's drag it in. Oh, actually, I can't do that either. Save image as. Junk food Joe. Oh, my God. It's a WebIp. I'm going to fucking panic right now. Hold on, everybody. It's going to take 25 minutes now. Thanks to the new web frameworks. Why do they need to do this to us? I'm going to put it in downloads and see if it pops up on here. Let's find out. Ah, it doesn't, bastards. Okay. Fine. That's fine. We'll just go slowly here. Drag it in. Look at him. He looks so fucking gone. That's almost 5 years ago. That image is almost 5 years old, guys. It's not that the universe blesses evil people. It's just that, like, it doesn't discriminate. And he's only, what, 76, 77 years old now or something like that. So, people live that long, man. How old is he now? I don't fucking know. Point is, it just doesn't, I wonder if he knows his nephew died. I don't know. He rejects all mail and he doesn't talk to his family, so maybe not. But look at him there. He looks fucked, guys. How he's still alive is actually very surprising to me. The jail system must take better care of its people than Larry Lawton claims it does. So, that's Joe D'Angelo as of 2021. That is the most recent image that we have of him. Now he probably looks like the guy from, what's that little guy that's in, like, the Scary Stories guy that talks to people? He turns 80 in 6 days. They sure take care of Officer Earons. Yeah. Shit, man. I mean, 80 is not that old. He definitely looks like he's aged quite a bit between 2020 and 2021, that's for sure. So, maybe they're not taking the best care of him. But, I don't know. I think that, like I said, the universe, quote unquote, I don't like that word, but, it just doesn't discriminate. Like, Jane Carson Sandler was in his 60s. What the fuck? Yeah, but I think he was healthier than most people. I think he was a fitness guy and ain't no karma. I mean, dude, would you rather be dead or in fucking protective housing for years? I'd rather be dead. If you had to take a choice between spending the rest of your life in segregated housing or dropping dead, I'd rather drop dead. So, is there karma? Well, it depends on what you think is worse. Yeah, there you go. So, in which, that's the thing, like, I mean, he has it worse than his dead victims. Right now, anyway. Of course, then eventually he'll die, and, you know. But that's a horrible way to live out the rest of your life in protective housing. Especially to be a cop and a fucking child rapist in prison. Like, he raped a 13-year-old, wasn't it? So, he's not having a good time. That's why I don't like death penalty. Yeah, the death penalty is very retaliatory. It doesn't... At the same time, I mean, why should we be feeding someone who's that bad with our tax money? So let's just line him up against the wall and shoot him, I think. But, I mean, if you do something like that, let's say if you go and you fucking rape a kid to death, or whatever, like, you should just get shot. Because we have to remove you from society forever, otherwise you're going to probably reoffend. But, like, we also don't want to pay for your well-being. And so, yeah. Suspect part of Joe's immunity deal was doing interviews with G-Men. That might be why he's not talking. Yeah, guys, they're never going to waterboard him for the answers. You know, I had too much faith in law enforcement to tell us the truth in this case, and they're not. I don't know why I thought that. Because their track record speaks for itself. They lied to us from the beginning or concealed information from us from the beginning. You know, they admit to it. There was a news blackout on the first 7 rapes in Sacramento because they didn't want to scare people, so they lied to us about it. And then eventually they had to because it got so out of hand. Guy was fucking going outside raping every night that they were like, okay, we need to probably tell people now. But they admit to covering things up from the start, even in their own narrative. So why I thought that they had any interest in waterboarding Joseph Junk Food Joey to get the truth out of him, I don't know. I mean, I didn't think they were really going to waterboard him, but like at least they might agree with my idea a little bit in their own way. So I wrote a letter to Paul Holes saying that I will personally volunteer to waterboard Joseph D'Angelo, and I mailed it. Never got a response, obviously, because duh. But I don't think that they want us to know at all. Anything. Murder Inc. still hasn't answered my question about slippery bludgeons. Murder Inc. Towel rapist, 1990s, Citrus Heights. You have a whole thing on that on your site. I just have to read it. I saw the little tab for it. There's a lot on your site, so. Slippery bludgeons, Murder Inc. What do you think? Slippery bludgeons. Does he not cover the Smiths because a fireplace log can't get slippery, but a pipe wrench can? So he covers up crews? Is that what's going on there? Does it have nothing to do with blood spatter? You know? That's the thing. It's frameworks. Don't know. Could be whether he has changes of clothes. Could be slippery weapon. Yeah, it could be stuff like that. Like the framework of that it has to be blood spatter isn't necessarily true. And the case is such a fascinating mystery. Because and just thank God that we are able to at least understand things a little better than Zodiac. Zodiac is such a mess, you guys. I'm out on Zodiac. I'm like done. You guys have seen that. I mean, I still do streams sometimes to talk about him, or I'll bring him up during streams and stuff, but as far as like being a primary Zodiac researcher, I'm done, man. Because it's just a mess. It's good to know that. I mean, Zodiac steals people's lives to this day. You know? And people just never get out. And, am I out, like, not fully, not to the point where, like, I'll never talk about it again, but, I'm not going to, like, obsess about it every day and make streams, like, hours long about Zodiac, unless it's, like, something specific. Like, I did a Presidio Heights one recently, and I think that was good. But these people, like, writing whole books and, like, their entire career is, like, permanently affixed to the Zodiac. Like, look at fucking goddamn fucking, I don't know. You can name names all day. Compare Anaheim Zodiac letter to See You in Press and on TV. Yeah. Shit, I don't fucking know anymore, man. I just don't know. That's why I need the DNA, or I'm just done. Or I'm not making a call on anything. I'll give you a like. I'll tell you if I think it's more likely or not. But, like, or whether I think something. But to call it and go, yep, that's an Iran's crime. I need DNA. I made a new big case to get... Oh, I need a new big case to get into, Iran's. Because here's the nice thing with Iran's, is it's, quote, solved case. Like, we know who the offender was, so we don't need to waste time trying to crack codes, which is fucking stupid. Like, every day I go on Facebook and I see a Z13, Z32 solution, and it's like, can you stop? You can't. You can't solve the Z13. I don't care how fancy your Python coding is, you can't. Because even if you solve it, we can't verify it. Stop. And these fucking noobs, they just keep doing it. Joe's family lived in Anaheim. Yeah. Maybe he's Zodiac. I don't know. He looks like Arthur Lee Allen. Look, I have a picture of these two. He totally looks like him. Should I put the picture? I have to hunt it down, don't I? Anyway, you get the idea. He's an old white dude with bald head. He looks like Allen. And they're both pedos. So, you know. I think that bombs under Arthur Lee Allen's house means something. It totally means something that there's bombs under his house. By the way, keep Calm and Zillow way on. If you ever need to look up some murder houses and figure out what's going on, you can Zillow them. Here's an exclusive for you. It says Murder Inc. I'm happy that we can see Murder Inc.'s comments and everyone can see them. Zodiac is just such a mess, though, you guys. Joe made tons of explosives, was an expert. See, that to me points against him being Zodiac, because Zodiac did not understand bombs. When did he become an explosives expert? That would be actually very contradictory. Because Zodiac's bus bomb is garbage. It doesn't include a primary explosive, and there's no way to detonate it. You need a primary. You cannot just, quote, set the shit off. You need a primary explosive, and you need to design a primary explosive, and none of those. So the detonator is not described to the bus bomb. And also a true bomb maker, he made bombs during EAR years. Okay. Maybe just got better at it. For whatever it is, Zodiac's bomb doesn't, it's not a bomb. It's like retarded. So. Alright, guys. Let's close out. I'm getting tired. I want to leave.